Welcome, everyone. I'm Dr. Basil Constein here from the ACU Online Writing Center, and I'm joined by Dr. Melissa Atkinson from the ACU Online Library. And today we're going to be doing a special co-presentation between the Online Writing Center and the Online Library about literature searches. Now, Dr. Atkinson, could you tell us a little bit about the kinds of questions that come into your desk? I know the library does many things. What sorts of things you do with doctoral students?
For doctoral students, we answer a lot of questions about accessing articles or books,
Mhm.
how to access or um, how do I get the full text of this article. Um, we also answer questions about refining searches, narrowing topics, um, and help with research methods, help with finding um, maybe really narrow um, articles on a specific topic from a literature review. Um, Sometimes um, a doctoral student will say, my committee wants me to get find more articles on a specific topic. And so we can help with that. Um,
Excellent.
yeah.
Well, I'm sure we'll follow up on that soon. But before we go into that, how does one contact the ACU Online Library? What's the best way to reach out?
Um, so there's a few ways. The best way is email. My email is melissa.atkinson@acu.edu. If you are interested in using Zotero, a citation management tool, you can contact Avery Weems, who's the Distance and Online Library Services librarian. Um, Her email is avery.weems@acu.edu. We have chat available on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and um, you can email us at any time. We also have an Ask a Librarian form that you can fill out. Um, Either me or Avery or a couple of other librarians might answer that question.
Excellent. And I've gone ahead and shared, linked the online library, a distance education portal, and
Hmm.
the email addresses you mentioned.
Yeah, I'll probably be using the distance learning portal very shortly here.
Great. So on the Online Writing Center end, we've defer to our library colleagues for their search expertise. But if you want to get in contact with us about writing, understanding assignments, general feedback, we are happy to help. We're available through two regular channels that you can schedule online. We have email/asynchronous appointments where you schedule a time. By that time, you upload a copy of your paper and any special requests. We send you your feedback generally within 24 hours. We are running towards Holy Week and Easter at the end of the month. So if you send in your draft on that Easter weekend, it might take us a little bit longer, but we'll get it well in time for you to be able to submit that assignment. And you can also schedule Zoom appointments, which of course would take place in real time. And you can schedule up to 2 appointments per week, 1 hour each, and you can schedule up to 2 weeks in advance. So if you have an idea, hey, there's this assignment I'd like to get some help on, you can sign up for times sooner rather than later. All right. Just a quick note about some things coming up, and then we'll move into the meat and potatoes, or the tofu and tempeh, if you prefer, for today's webinar. So coming up later this week, we have researching and writing about leadership theories, a capstone dissertation doctoral project formatting clinic session. That's one where you can sign up or just drop in to get feedback and assistance on formatting your manuscript. And you could be working on early stages of putting together chapter one. You could have all of your proposal ready. You could even be getting ready for editorial review. So anywhere in that spectrum, you're welcome to drop in for help on that. And then we have one of our live edit sessions on Thursday, the 14th, that I will strongly recommend wherever you are in the doctoral writing journey, because being in conversation about the ideas helps us figure out the things that we want to make more clear and the things that we want to bring together in alignment. With no further ado, let's take a look at our focus today. So we have an assignment chosen from the EDD program. This is Leadership 786, Week 1 Vocational Calling Journal Article assignment. And it does have a search component. And so I'm very glad that the online library is joining us today. Well, let's take a look at that assignment. So again, this is coming from 786, so it's our quantitative analysis course. And it asks you to retrieve one peer-reviewed research journal article where the authors conducted a quantitative methodology study that revolved around vocational calling and/or prayer. And I'm going to ask my colleagues. So I remember when I was an undergrad and we were asked to find research journal articles. This was in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I remember having to head off to the library and pull journals off the shelf and look through them. Uh, there must be a better way 20 years later, I hope.
Yes. I had to do that myself, not in um in undergrad, not grad, but there is a better way to search for a particular topic besides leafing through a whole volume of a journal. And it begins on the distance learning portal using OneSearch, our main database that we point students to.
Great. So this particular assignment does have a template that it asks you to use. We'll look at that in a little bit. But I wanted to take a look at the rubric here because this lists some specific things. So aside from our one sentence description of the assignment, our rubric lists a few things. Proper APA citation and a permalink, which is not part of the, strictly speaking, part of the API citation, but we include it in that same general function of how to access the material or identifying the specific thing you're talking about. To describe the purpose of the study, the description of the sampling procedures, identification of variables and levels of measure, and identification of quantitative methodology design. So before going any further, it's probably good for us to break down those four things. I was talking with the journal editor today, and they were talking about how they would get these manuscripts that wouldn't have a specific purpose of study, a section in them. And so they'd send it back and forward a copy of their style guide, which would ask for an explicit section with the heading saying purpose of study. And that's very helpful for the reader to know where to go for that exact set of information. But some journals require them, some don't. So sometimes it's a little bit more implicit than explicit, and sometimes it's more clearly labeled than others. Sampling procedures, that's going to be referring to how the study participants or the people from whom the data was collected, how those were chosen. There are methods, for example, like a convenience sampling, where, say, a classic one is if you have a professor who invites their students to sign up for the study. That's a convenient sampling. Those people were convenient nearby. They're probably not going to be super representative of the population at large, but they might be representative of a subpopulation that you're interested in. And one of the challenges when you do research where most of your participants are recruited via convenience sampling is that it's often reflective of your local environment and not necessarily reflective of the larger population or group or phenomenon that you're trying to study. And we call that a issue with generalizability. Can the results be applied in the situation that you are trying to apply them for, as laid out in the purpose of your study? And if you're dissertating, you'd also have a related series of things. You'd have your problem statement in its own section, the purpose statement, which would focus on what you're trying to do related to the problem statement, and then of course your research questions. And then how you answer those research questions would be where we start talking about the sampling. Identification of variables and levels of measure. So we are talking about quantitative research. So that means that things are being put or encoded or translated or transcoded into a format where they are easier to count. Now, not all quantitative data is numerically coded, but it is something that we can and run numerical analysis on. An example would be you might have answers that are true, false, maybe, I don't know. And so those, strictly speaking, that's not a 0 to 4 thing, but it's still in a fashion where you can count how frequently did people respond to those. So this is the area where I would like to invite my colleague to take over because, I have some ideas with my knowledge about searching for things, but I'm even more interested in seeing a real expert on this show me what I have been missing out on. Dr. Atkinson, may I invite you to the virtual podium?
Yeah. So is it now the time that I'm sharing my screen, or
Yes,
do you
please.
just want me to talk about okay.
Uh,
Let me
well,
share
as you
my
please. If
screen.
you'd like to introduce first, certainly, but you're welcome to share your screen now.
Okay. Yeah, I'll share my screen and I'll kind of talk a little bit before I do a sample search. Um, so we're doing a sample search for this particular assignment, which we get a lot of questions about this assignment over the years because it's not like a regular assignment where you're trying to find information about your topic. They're kind of giving you a topic and then you have to find information around that. Um, so it's going to be done a little differently. Um, so you're trying to find an article that mentions vocational calling or prayer, and that used a quantitative methodology. And so we're gonna try to build a search so that you can find those kinds of articles. And I'm using the distance learning portal. The direct link is guides.acu.edu/distance. Um, let me put that in the chat so that if you want to follow along, you can. I am not going to put anything in this box, but you can. You can do that if you want to. I'm going to click on this link up here. It's just going to take me into OneSearch. OneSearch is our search that we point students to because it searches a lot of our databases all at once. And at this point in the program, that's probably a good thing to search so that you can, most topics are multidisciplinary, and so this will search multiple disciplines. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sign in. When you sign in, you're signing in using your ACU account. So if you're already signed into My ACU or Canvas, it should just log you in pretty quickly. And that way you can add things to your folder, and it also gives you the correct format for a permalink, or when you're copying and pasting a citation from this service, it'll be in the correct format as well. So for vocational calling and prayer, sometimes you can combine those things because the assignment does say you want to find an article about vocational calling and or prayer. So I have some pre thought out searches, but I'm going to go through them and tell you why I put these in the way that it did. So the first one is going to find something about vocational calling. And this looks really complicated, but let me go through what all of these mean. So this AB means that these terms in the parentheses, I want all of those to be in the abstract of the article. And then, so career calling, pretty similar to vocational calling. What this N2 does means that career and calling can be within 2 words of each other. And then this asterisk means that it's going to find the word call or calling or callings, any form of that word. And then the same idea over here, this asterisk after vocation means it's going to find vocation or vocations or vocational. And the same with the asterisk here. And then it's going to find the word vocation and calling within 2 words of each other. And the reason why I'm doing it that way instead of putting quotes around it is sometimes you're not going to see vocational calling, those 2 words together, or career calling. They might be within 1 or 2 words of each other. And then the one thing that we need to talk about is quantitative. So if you're doing a quantitative study, you're going to use, you might use some different analyses. And a t-test is one of those, a linear regression, simple correlation. And then I also put the word quantitative in there because if it's a good article, it's going to tell you that it used a quantitative method. But sometimes it doesn't. So now I'm going to click on search. And before I look at my results, I am going to go over to the left-hand side and I'm going to click on peer reviewed. And I don't remember if this assignment has a date limit on it or not. But you can change the date over here if you want to get something a little more recent. So with this particular search, it didn't find very many, about 300. But I want to show you. So the main thing about this assignment is you need that article to be quantitative. And how do you tell if it's quantitative? Well, you can look at the abstract. Sometimes it'll tell you what kind of method they used in the abstract. So let's see. It's hard to tell if this is quantitative or not. It didn't give me all of the abstracts, so I'm going to click on the title and see what the rest of the abstract says. Doesn't give me a whole lot of information. So I'm just going to move on from that one. And let's pick another one. Let's see. Let's try this one. So this one is divided into 2 studies. The first study says it was an experiment. Not exactly sure what that means, but let me click on the title. Excuse me. Okay, I can see more of the abstract here. Okay, so we're looking at the study. Hmm.
I'm
Doesn't
looking at
really,
this and I'm seeing that career calling is really the terminology that you're using here. So this is, I think, illustrating the value of having that synonym search, that string that you showed us earlier.
yeah,
Because if you just search for vocation, I don't think this would have come up. Mm.
right. Um, and that also, you want to use similar words depending on the authors. Um, they may be from different countries, so they might use different words. Um, and you're supposed to use articles from the U.S. In your first uh, courses of the program, but for this particular assignment, I don't think it matters if it's from the U.S. or not.
Melissa, may I give you a little break to grab a drink of water?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I'll say a
Thanks.
little bit about the results you have here. So, we have students in our program who are located all over the world, and sometimes you are doing research on a particular international setting. So, Guangxi, the term that you see used in this abstract, it's referring to a particular Chinese conception of relationships. So, it's used a lot in their business literature. Now, there are many things that are embedded in a cultural context or a social context, and this is one where that conception of how a person's social network will stretch into business is particularly common in that society and in that literature as a result. Now, if you're doing something in that specific context, or there's an idea from it that you are looking to apply in a different context, it can certainly be relevant. But as my colleague was referring to earlier, you might be looking specifically for something for an American context because that's where you plan on doing your research. And one of the opportunities in an assignment like this is if you have, through the prior assignments, developed an idea of at least a ballpark topic for your dissertation, you can slant the searches that you're doing now to look at research that you are considering using for your eventual dissertation. So for myself, if I was doing work uh, on uh, Chinese immigrants working in the United States, this might be something that I might want to refer to, but I think it's of the most interest for someone who is actually working in mainland China because they're looking at a very particular phenomenon that is coming out of that area. And actually, on that topic, might I ask you, Melissa, are there any other limitations that or filters that you'd recommend selecting on the left if you are specifically looking for uh, literature on the United States or
Um, there
examining the United States?
there is a geography limit,
Hmm.
but it doesn't really work that well as far as giving you everything. Like it has a United States here, but it says there's
Hmm.
only 8,
Okay.
which doesn't seem right out of 300. What
Hmm.
I usually do is instead of using that geography, I will just add into my search.
Hmm.
I will add at the end, I will add and then I'll put United States or US and
Hmm.
have that as part of my
Gotcha.
search terms. So that got it down to 140 um, instead of 340. So um, it works a little better than this geography one.
Hmm.
The United States and US doesn't get everything from the US, and it doesn't get rid of everything that is not from the US. Um, but it does help.
Now, there's a related question that often comes up when students are trying to fill out their lit review chapter, where they come to us and say, "Hey, uh, I'm only finding 18 articles on this topic," or something small like that, and I will, before sending them off to the library, ask, "So, what are you searching for, exactly?" And I do recall that geographic checkbox has been checked sometimes. So I appreciate your pointing that out. You know, these databases are only as good as the data that's put in, and if it hasn't been coded for that keyword, sometimes we miss them.
Yeah. Um, as a doctoral student, I would suggest that you supplement if you're searching for your topic in your dissertation topic, you supplement your searches in our database with a search in Google Scholar. Um, it's you search Google Scholar differently than you search here, but that can help you find some things that may not come up in our search. And if anybody is interested in that, I can you can make an appointment with me or just email me, and I can give you some tips on how to search Google Scholar.
Now, at another university that I worked at, there was a way to connect Google Scholar to the library resources. Do we have that at ACU?
Yes, yes, you can do that.
If you don't mind, I think that our students would love seeing how to do that integration.
Okay. Let me go into this article right here because I think I saw this one earlier when I was preparing for this, and I think this one is quantitative. Yeah, they use structural equation modeling. So this one is definitely quantitative. Um, Now, if you notice, this doesn't have a PDF full text here. So in that case, if you see that in our database, what you're going to do first is you're going to click on this check journal finder for full text availability of articles. So anytime you see something doesn't have the PDF right there or the HTML, you're just going to click on that link. And then on this page, in the middle column where it says article, if you see anything that's linked, then you should be able to get to that article, the full text of it, by clicking on the link. So I think um, it's going to be an extra 1 or 2 clicks. So I'm going to click on the title again. And this is the full text of the article. This is the HTML, and then you can also download the PDF from right here. And each time you do that, it's going to look a little differently depending on which other database we get it from. Sometimes our databases don't work well together, and that's why you have to do some extra clicks.
Well, fortunately, I don't think we're charging by the click.
So that one you would be able to use if that interested you. Um, so do you want me to do a Google Scholar search example now, or do you want me to do the prayer one?
I would love to see the Google Scholar search now,
Okay.
because that will help students who are watching the recording see that discussion lead into the example.
Mm-hmm. So I have Google Scholar on my bookmarks, so I'm just going to click on that, but it's scholar.google.com. And so to connect our subscriptions, um, a lot of our subscriptions to your Google Scholar search, what you're going to do is you're going to click on the um, the lines over here on the left and go to settings. And then you're going to click on where it says library links. So when you do that, you will type in Abilene Christian University, and then click on search. And then you're going to check marks the boxes that the two that say ACU. There's a journal finder one and a ProQuest one. Then you're going to save it. And I'll show you what that will do after I put in my search terms. So I'm going to do a sample search. Do you have an example you want me to look up?
Actually, yes, I would love it if we could look for first vocation,
Are you,
and
are you
then
saying first vocation?
sorry, the first word is
Oh,
vocation. Sorry, I
vocation.
should be
Uh-huh.
more clear. Vocation and and leadership and religious. Just as a little bit of a background for the students. So in an earlier part of my life, I went to seminary and I attended a Catholic seminary and I attended an interdenominational seminary. And the graduation rates were very different. At the Catholic seminary, about 1 in 10 seminarians made it through and got ordained. Most of them dropped out because they decided they wanted to date and get married and then started families. And then when I was going to the interdenominational seminary, which is at Boston University, same seminary as the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., huge difference. Like 90 something percent of the seminarians graduated there. Sometimes took an extra year, but they were really good at graduating. Now, I see a Dr. Atkinson that I should have added another term in there
Yeah.
because I'm looking at the first thing and seeing narrative analysis. Ooh, that looks qualitative. So,
Yeah.
um, could we do add a survey into our search string? Survey because survey is a one method of doing a quantitative data collection.
And there's this one. So one thing I need to mention about Google Scholar is you don't need to put any ands or ors. The default is or in Google Scholar. But you can put quotes around like if you wanted to do vocational calling, you could put that in quotes. You can also do a custom range of dates here on the left. We can, do our 5 year. I know this is 6, but I'm still doing 2018. I'm not changing it to 2019 just yet. Um, and there isn't a way to um, limit to peer review like there is in our database. So you just kind of have to um, be aware of that when you're looking through these results because you can get dissertations like this is a dissertation and this is a dissertation. You can kind of tell it it's a dissertation because it says search.proquest.com and there's only one author. Sometimes a dissertation will say it's a book. That's how you know it's a dissertation. Um, this is from a journal, this one right here, because it says this is the name of a journal. I know that because I've been searching for 20 plus years, so I know that's a journal. You'll also get books. This is a journal right here. And so what will happen when you set up your Google Scholar to integrate with our subscriptions is if you click on an article and you want to get to the full text, if for some reason it doesn't get you to the full text, what you can do is you can go to the ACU Journal Finder link and see if you can get access that way. That one happened to take me to the full text, but if it didn't, then you would click on that ACU Journal Finder link to get to the full text.
Thank you. Now, I see
Um,
that there's a lot of, well, there are a few results here on servant leadership, which I know is a theme in uh, many of the assignments and in it shows up a lot in one of our EDD concentrations. Uh, so would you mind telling me if you recommend using the save function here in Google Scholar?
Using the save.
On the left-hand side, we have that save button.
Oh,
Under each
save.
result bar.
Okay, save. I've never used that, but I don't know what it does, actually.
Okay.
Um, Another thing about in Google Scholar, you can create an alert, and you can put if you have a search that you're doing, or a couple of searches on your topic, your dissertation topic, and you just want to keep alert of what's coming out. You can create an alert, and it'll send you an email with new articles or resources on that topic. And it'll send it to you when there's new things. So it might come every day, it might come every week. It just depends on who's writing about it.
Hmm.
Another thing I wanted to show you is in Google Scholar, when you're looking at articles on your topic, if you see this cited by, that's going to be your forward chaining. So if you click on that, that means that these three articles cited that other article. And that's a good way to get other articles kind of on the same topic. You'll just have to look at them and see if they are relevant. That's called forward chaining. Backward chaining is when you look at an article and then you look at the references and you find articles that are relevant in the references of an article or even a book chapter or something.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you wanted me to demonstrate or had a question about?
I think you've showed us the two things that I was very much interested in. So thank you for that little detour.
Okay, you're welcome. The next search I'm going to do is for prayer, and I'm going to use this one. So for this particular one, I'm doing the same thing. I have this AB, which means these need to be in the abstract, these words. I could have done pray with an asterisk and then that's it. So that will get me pray or praying or prayer. And then I have my t-test, linear aggression, simple correlation. I guess I could put others in there, but if you're in this course, and I think this is like one of the first assignments you have, you may not know what words to put in this. You may not know what words are quantitative. Um, but these particular words are. There's also ANOVA, MANOVA, and people may say those differently because they stand for something. They're an acronym, but you can put those in there as well. But these are kind of like the most used ones. I can also put survey in there, but if I put survey, that leads me to think, well, if I put survey, then I might need to put scale or questionnaire or other things that mean kind of the same thing. Survey, instrument, scale, survey, all those kinds of things could be associated with quantitative.
Thank you.
So the prayer one is a little more difficult in some ways because you're and I know I put it in the abstract, so these should have that word prayer or something similar in the abstract. But we're not really getting anything. It looks like that might be helpful here. So what I usually do is I change this to TI. So I want that word prayer or praying in the title. So that's what the TI means. That way we know what we're looking at is about prayer because it will be in the title. And so I'm just going to pick an article. Maybe this one, and then look at the abstract. Now, sometimes, and for some reason, we have a certain database. It's called Atlas. It's a religious database. For some reason, they don't provide the abstract when you hover over the little magnifying glass, and I'm not sure why. It's just one of those little quirks. So in this particular case, I'm going to have to get into the full text, and I'm going to have to see if this article is quantitative. And the way that you do that is if it has an abstract, you can look at the abstract. This one does. It's just not provided to us in the search results. So in this particular article, they're using an inventory. That's the other word that kind of means survey. They're using a scale. So this is definitely quantitative. They're also using SPSS for their analysis. So this would probably work for that particular assignment. Do you have anything else that I need to cover, Basil?
I think that's great. Would you mind if we talked a little bit about ways of contacting the online writing center? Because I bet that students watching this will now have a few ideas. First, knowing that most assignments are going to be released on a Tuesday and due on a Monday, uh, is Monday afternoon at 5 a great time to be contacting the writing center? I'm sorry, to be contacting the online library.
Um, yeah, they can contact us at any time
Okay. Uh,
because Mondays we have chat available from 7 to 9. So, however you contact the library, somebody would, you would get a reply within minutes or within, like an hour or so, depending on what you, and if it's chat, it would be instant.
mhm,
If it's filling out our Ask a Librarian form, it could be, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour before you get a reply. But
mhm. Yeah,
and that is the chat is available here on the distance learning portal. Right now it says ask us. That means that there isn't a librarian available, but if there was one, it would say chat now and it would be purple.
mhm.
And then you can go over here to the ask us. That's the ask a librarian form. You can ask the question that way. Or you can email us, and our email addresses are on our specific pages. This is my page. My email is here. And then Avery, if you need help with Zotero, her email is here. She can also help with searches as well.
Great. Is there any information that you recommend including in an inquiry? So if you've been doing some searching, do you want them to send you a link or a list of whatever was in the search box to say, here's what I've looked at already?
You could do that. It's and most students don't do that, but um, if you include that, that kind of gives us an idea of what you've already tried, and then we can probably come up with some different search terms and strategies.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's been very helpful, and I can say that I have learned something new. Uh, Let me do the normal closing stuff for our webinar, and then we can stop the recording. And uh, if the students have any questions, we can spend a few minutes on that before the hour.
Okay.
So just as a reminder, this particular assignment does ask you to put in some information in a particular way. So if you are looking at the assignment, it does have a template that you should divide and that you can take those elements and combine them with our course paper template. So I'm just going to share my screen briefly to remind you about that particular aspect of this assignment. So you can see that they're asking for the information within this table here. And because it's this specific table template that you're going to be using, unlike a normal APA paper, we're not going to get rid of all those vertical lines. That's fine as is. Uh, all right, back to our wrap up there. So if you have any questions for the Online Writing Center, you can email us at onlinewritingcenter@acu.edu. Dr. Atkinson shared her email address earlier and that of her colleague. Uh, to contact us, you can schedule an appointment by going to my.acu.edu and under Academic Resources, selecting Online Writing Center, or go directly to our website. And with that, let me just check really quick. And I'm going to go ahead and say good night.